Hey parents, and welcome to this training on how to get your kids to want to go outside without screen time tantrums or dragging them out the door, ever. And we didn't come up with this topic, you guys actually did. So we polled over 300 people, and the vast majority of the responses from this poll said we want our kids to want to get outside. We want them to be engaged outside. We want them to not get bored outside. And so we made this training today to really help you with that. And our goal is, if you stay till the end of this training, you're going to walk away with some key strategies for getting your kids to want to go outside. You're also going to walk away with knowing that you're not alone. The vast majority of parents are struggling with the exact same thing, but only a small percentage of them are taking action. And you are that small percentage, right? You are here, and I'm going to show you how to take action today. So what makes this different? What makes us different? Well, I'm a biologist, and so I have been working in biology in this field for over 20 years, teaching, researching, and my academic research was actually on how in the world do we get kids outside and connected to nature so that it actually matters, so that it lasts long term. And for the last 15 plus years, this is exactly what I've been doing. I've been working with hundreds of kids and families on getting them outside and learning about nature in their own backyards. There's a lot of nature groups online, and they're all really great. But what makes us different is we are science-based. We are run by scientists, and we really focus on that deep connection, not just getting outside, but really learning and knowing about nature around us. And so during this time, during my career, I've done a lot of things right. I've also done some things wrong. In fact, after the last 15 years of doing this work, I know that, without a doubt, the best type of childhood, one that sets our kids up for success in the future, it includes nature. But the day-to-day overwhelm can be paralyzing. Getting kids outside as a parent isn't always easy. Helping them learn about nature isn't always straightforward. In fact, I discovered this the hard way. And but don't worry, you don't have to. You get to cheat. You get to do it the easy way. But I want to tell you a little bit about my story and why and how it was hard to help you understand that, number one, you're not alone, but also that we can help you to move forward. So about, oh my gosh, 2013, so 9 years ago, I had just finished my PhD in biology, and I was teaching biology classes at a Tier 1 university. Remember those large stadium-style lecture halls with hundreds of students and a teeny tiny professor down at the bottom of the stage? Well, that was me. And when I wasn't teaching, I was researching and publishing on how people connect to nature. What experiences do we need to give them at what stage in their life in order for them to grow up to become someone who actually takes care of our natural resources? And I was also a mom. And up until that point, I had spent years dreaming of the nature mom that I would be, getting my kids outside every day, doing these awesome outdoor science activities. And my imaginary kids, of course, were respectful, and they didn't have any issues with screens. They were always willing to learn. And then I actually had them, and I got a huge slice of humble pie. I remember sitting down one day at the park with my kids. I was exhausted. I was grumpy. I had just snapped at them. It had taken us 20 minutes just to get out the door, just to get shoes on. And I downloaded this fun activity, but by the time I got to the park, I had no desire to do it. I just remember sitting there and thinking, how in the world is it this hard? This is what I've been researching for years. I even worked as a rock climbing guide. I know how to get people outside. I know how to connect people to nature. But actually doing it with my own kids as a mom was so much harder than I ever thought it would be. And as I was sitting there, I just let the guilt just sit deep and kind of ferment in my stomach. I yelled at them for shoes. What was my attitude doing to our relationship? And that day was the first time we'd been to the park all week, because screens had taken a strong hold on our family. Were they going to end up sedentary, overweight, and depressed? Was I squashing their creativity and their imagination with too much screen time? And as the guilt and the shame just sat in my gut, tears began to run down my cheeks, and I felt nauseated. And I would just sit there and thought, are they going to have the type of childhood that they deserve, that they need? I felt like the worst mom, and that they deserved someone better. And as I was sitting there, I asked myself, all right, what do I want for my kids? And the answer was easy. I want them to have a simple, happy, good childhood that sets them up for a great future. And from all the research that I had been reading and doing over the last decade, I knew that nature was an essential part of childhood development. And if I want to get serious about giving them the best possible childhood that I can, then I need to start getting them outside regularly and learning about the natural world around them. So I made a plan based on the research I'd been doing with my doctoral work, along with what I thought would work as a busy mom. And I knew that I needed to make nature time a priority. I knew that just like soccer practice, right? It needs to be a priority. It needs to be in our schedule. And I knew I needed a good curriculum to help them learn about nature in their own backyard. But as I started implementing this new plan, I had a few speed bumps along the way. Each nature-based curriculum that I purchased for my family was not a good fit. Some were simply too long and complicated. I didn't have time for that. Many of them were written for families, were not written for families with kids of different ages, and that didn't work for us. Most of them were literature-based and didn't incorporate STEM. And some that did incorporate STEM, they were teaching bad science. And I'm a scientist, I can tell you in a heartbeat if a curriculum is good for giving a kid a STEM advantage. I spent years going through different curriculum and programs that I had purchased that just weren't a good fit for my family. And to top it all off, there was no accountability. I was on my own for everything. And during that time is when I figured out exactly what I needed to connect my kids to nature. Not just what the research says was necessary, but what was also practical from the standpoint of a mom. I knew that I needed to get them outside regularly. I needed to teach them about nature in their own backyards. I needed to make nature personal for each and one of my kids so that they actually enjoy it as they get older. And I needed accountability because without it, I kept falling off the wagon. So I created a program, Nature Matters Academy, that had all the things that were not available on the market. The things that moms actually need to be successful in this journey of giving our kids the best possible childhood while connecting them to nature. So here's the thing. When I first started, I knew I was not giving my kids the experiences they needed to have a happy and healthy childhood that set them up for a great future. But after creating Nature Matters Academy for my own kids, one thing I now know without a doubt is that I'm giving my kids the right experiences in order to create a childhood that's great, right? One full of exploration, discovery, and creativity by getting them outside and connected to nature. They'll become the people they were always meant to be because I now have the skills and the confidence to guide them along the way. I believe that nature makes our kids happier, healthier, and smarter, and while also strengthening our relationships. And I believe that the best place for kids to fall in love with nature is at home. So many of you guys are doing what I did, right? You're doing it the hard way. You're spending hours online looking for activities that never seem to work. You are dealing with screen time tantrums that you can't seem to get to stop. You feel like you're having to drag your older kids outside against their will. But do you want the easy way that doesn't require you to ever have to have those battles? So in the last month, my kids and I have been outside daily, even in bad weather, no complaints. After our daily nature walks in the neighborhood, my kids stay outside and actually entertain themselves outside, which is amazing. And many parents ask me, all right, are these results typical? And I basically tell them it depends. It depends on what kind of parent you are. If you're an action taker, if you know there's a problem and you will take action and do what you need to do to solve that problem, then yes, these results are very typical. These results are typical of people who come into our programs and work with us. These results are not typical for parents who say that they want to change but aren't really action takers and don't take that next step. So you get to choose, right? And we can help you to take that next step right now by talking about how to get your kids to want to go outside without screen time tantrums or dragging them out the door ever. So we've broken this up into 3 secrets. Secret number 1 is kids can get outside every day without a single screen time tantrum. Secret number 2 is your kids, can stay outside without getting bored. And secret number 3 is as kids get older, we must shift our strategies to keep them engaged and excited. So let's start with secret number 1. Your kids can get outside every day without a single screen time tantrum. So here's the assumption or the belief that we have. We believe as parents, because we are the authority, right, that we should just tell our kids to get off the screens and they should just immediately turn them off and there shouldn't be any of these fights, right? And when there are fights, what do we think? We think we're bad parents, right? Why does my kid not listen to me? Why does my kid not respect me? Am I a bad parent? Are my kids bad kids? And the fact is, no, you're not a bad parent. Your kids aren't bad kids. Biologically, our brains are wired in such a way that makes it very hard to turn screens off. It's hard for me as an adult to turn Facebook off, right? Imagine what it's like for an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 15-year-old. It is very difficult because the people who design the games, Facebook, movies, commercials, whatever it is that we see on screens, they know how our brain works. And they design their work in order to capture us and keep us. And so, no, your kids aren't bad kids because they throw a tantrum to get off screens. It just means that you're not using the right strategies. Simply telling them to get off is not going to work, because that's not the way our biology works, right? So here is our first secret. Our first strategy is that you need to plan and schedule nature time. It needs to be frequent and consistent. So let me give you a couple examples of this. If you're a homeschooling family, every day after lunch, that's a great time to integrate nature time into your day-to-day routine. It's easy to remember. Kids know to expect it. They know that if they work hard during the morning, then they get this nice long break in the afternoons. So that's one way to make it frequent and consistent over time. If you are a public or a private school parent, then use the same strategy, where simply once you pick them up from school and before you walk in the door, so you park your car in the garage, before you step a foot in the house, you go outside. And the kids go outside for 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it is that they need to unwind before they come inside and start their homework, start dinner, and all these other things. Because the thing is that our kids need to be outside frequently. The research shows that if we want our kids to have all these health benefits that they get from nature, they need to be outside frequently. If we want to have them to have those benefits of less anxiety, less depression, they need to be outside in nature. And so we need to be getting outside frequently. So if not every day, at least every week. Your goal is at least every week. And then consistent. So you need to be outside in the spring, summer, fall, and winter, even when it's cold, even when it's hot. You need to be outside when they're 5, when they're 10, and when they're 15. So it needs to be consistent throughout the seasons, consistent throughout childhood. And here's the thing. So we have this belief that kids should just hop off screens, but all kids throw a fit when we turn off the screens if we don't use the right strategies. Strategy is key because we're battling innate programming, which is basically our biology, right? So my kids use screens. They use screens for learning, for game time, for TV time, but they don't throw fits because we have these barriers and these limitations or rules put in place so that we are using them, but we're not using them excessively, and we get nature time done first and all those things. So planning nature time is going to be essential to dealing with screen time tantrums. And here's the thing. If you get these plans put into place and your kids are actually getting outside, you can just throw away the guilt. I have no guilt about screen time because my kids get outside often enough that I know that they're still going to come out on the other end happy and healthy with less anxiety and less depression. And so this is one of our moms, Jessica. She said, I'm so glad I enrolled my family in this program. I feel like it's helped me to be the mom I want to be. We struggle with too much screen time, and I'm not a great planner. This program has helped me tremendously in finding alternatives. And this is the first step. The first step is planning nature time. So imagine what your family would be like if you had no more screen fights. Imagine if you no longer had to feel guilty about too much screen time, or if your kids were never interested in going outside. Imagine what that would be like. So your kids can get outside without a fight. Kids just need to learn and practice those skills. And you need the right strategies. You need to be able to set the right boundaries. And one of those strategies is to plan out your nature time. So do you want to break old habits starting today? You guys know how these things go, right? You join a training, you get all excited, you make a plan, and then you never take action and never move the needle. Then a year later, you find yourself even worse off than you are today. Kids are spending more time on screens, they're more disconnected with you, and it's even harder to get them outside. The only way that you're going to be successful is if we break this habit now, and we can help you do that. So secret number 2 is kids can stay outside without getting bored. So we have this underlying assumption in our culture that kids all need to be entertained, and that they need to be entertained pretty much constantly. And if you ask a parent, they would disagree with you, right? All of us as parents would be like, no, that's not good. Our kids shouldn't be entertained all the time. That's bad for them, right? But it's not the actions that we take. It's not what we actually do in practice. So here's the thing. Kids can entertain themselves. They've been doing it for thousands of years, right? But we sabotage our kids by either giving them screens just to buy time. I mean, they can't even take a car ride, to soccer practice without being on screens and watching something, right? Or we fill up their schedules so much that they have no space or time to be bored and to figure out how to entertain themselves. And so as parents, the way that we're scheduling our days, the way that we're putting things together, and the culture that we're building in our house is sabotaging our efforts to help our kids learn to entertain themselves. And so again, the strategy that helps with this is going to be planning and scheduling out nature time, making it frequent and consistent over time. Because if your kids never have the space to be able to get outside on their own and have the opportunity to learn how to entertain themselves, then it's not going to happen. And so you have to make that space. And I would suggest seeing if you can make it in daily. Like I said, homeschooling parent, do it right after lunch. If you're a private public school parent, do it as soon as you get home and just help get them used to this. Now, don't go and rip off the Band-Aid. Don't go from 0 to 60 where you're not getting outside at all to all of a sudden you expect them to go outside and entertain themselves for an hour at a time. It's a bad idea. They're not going to like it. They're not going to like nature. They're not going to like you. So do it gradually. And so you can give them a nature challenge and then send them outside. An example of a nature challenge, we teach our parents this in Nature Matters Academy, but it could be look for a purple flower in the backyard that's being pollinated by a bee. It gives them something very specific to look for. You already have purple flowers in your backyard, so at least you know where they're going, and they're going to be looking for a bee. And it may only take 5 minutes the first few times that you do it. But over time, that 5 minutes will turn into 10, will turn into 15, and before you know it, they're going to be entertaining themselves outside for 30 minutes, an hour, or even more. So here is from one of our parents who's in Nature Matters Academy. The kids have fallen in love with being in nature again. Thank you. There's a snapshot of our day wrapping up our True Bugs discussion. We also played in the wind and leaves and worked hard catching crickets for a toad Hannah caught today. Their mindset about being outdoors has been changed. Thank you so much. So here's the thing. They had a mindset that was very screen-based and very, kind of indoor, I need to be entertained. And it was the mom, it was Carolyn that changed this, right? We gave Carolyn the strategies and we gave Carolyn the ideas and we supported her and we encouraged her. And then she did the work. And in 3 weeks' time, these kids were totally willing to get off the screens because they knew how much fun they were having outside and they were having a great time. She just needed the right strategies and the support to do it. So imagine what you could get done around the house if your kids just entertain themselves for 30 minutes outside. Your in-laws who are always making those kind of side off remarks about how your kids are addicted to technology. Imagine what your in-laws might say if your kids willingly get off electronics and go outside. Imagine what the neighbors will think when they see kids actually playing outside. Honestly, kids playing outside in a neighborhood is like an endangered species. No one sees them anymore. And so when the neighborhood sees this, it's usually pretty exciting. So your kids can go outside without being bored. They just need a help learning how. And in order to do that, you need the right strategies, and we can help give you those strategies. So here's the thing. Every day, every week, every month you wait, it gets harder. It's easy to make these kinds of changes with a 5-year-old. It is not easy with a 12-year-old. The earlier you get started, the better childhood your kids will have. But the longer you wait, the harder it gets, and you'll be losing valuable time to influence their relationship with nature and their ability to entertain themselves. So you got to start it now. All right, secret number 3. As kids get older, we must shift our strategy to keep them engaged and excited. So here's the thing. And this is really funny, but we assume that what works when our kids are 5 is going to work again when they're 8 and work again when they're 12. So at 5 years old, we're getting outside all the time, right? It's the logistics are hard, but like the excitement and the engagement is easy. And they want to be out there. They want to be with you. They want to be wherever you are. They love being outside. And so you do these fun little activities and fun little crafts and everything's great. Your child turns 8. You try to do the same activities when they were 5 and they're just not getting into it, right? So you kind of give up. You stop trying, you stop doing these things. Now the child's 12. Again, you try to do the same activities and the child by this point is insulted because these are activities that are way below them and they want to be challenged. They want to be pushed. They may not say it, but they definitely enjoy the challenge. And so here's a problem. Online, when you Google nature activities for kids, you're going to get literally millions of results. I think hundreds of millions of results. And the vast majority of those are pre-K kindergarten level activities. And so that's why everything works so well at the pre-K kinder level until they're about 6. And they don't work as well after that because they're designed for younger kids. And we need to be able to have activities that can engage and challenge older kids. So here's the thing. We don't see our kids' relationship with nature as something that grows and changes over time, but it does. And we absolutely have to recognize that because if we don't, then we're not going to be able to keep up with our kids and they're not going to be interested in getting outside with us. So again, your strategy here is to plan and schedule nature time, make it frequent and consistent. Because if your kid's 5, and you start doing this, and every week from 5 until they graduate and they leave the house, you're getting outside with them and engaging in nature. So when they're 15, it's not going to be hard because it's part of their culture. It's literally the only childhood that they know. And so they're very used to doing this with you. However, if you start at 10 or even 15, it can happen and you can definitely do it, but it's just so much harder to integrate these new activities and these new systems and these new schedules. So get started today, no matter what age your kids are, but make it frequent and consistent. Because if you don't, if you fall off the wagon, then the work that you've done kind of gets lost. You have to completely restart the next time you try to do it again. And the second thing is, as they get older, you absolutely have to make nature personal. You can't just get out there and just do the same thing every time. You can't just go hiking and do what you like to do. You need to make it personal for them. So Michelle says, it's eye-opening that we have to intentionally parent this way when so many of us grew up doing this as a natural part of recreation, right? As kids, so many of us just got outside. And it wasn't like this big thing where our parents were planning time and designing activities and all that. And Michelle actually ended up enrolling in Nature Matters Academy and enrolled her family. And she said, we're studying weather, our local ecosystem, and growing. We're learning about scientific methods. We're interacting with and in nature with purpose. We're observing, tracking, graphing, asking questions, finding answers. And so basically, she had preteens who were already becoming addicted to screens. And she was like, oh my gosh, when did this happen, right? And we went from, we had a great time outside to all of a sudden now they are, I think it's like 10 or 12, and they're having a hard time getting outside. They're having a hard time getting off the screens. And so by giving Michelle strategies, by supporting her, by giving her tools and helping her develop skills to get our kids outside at the age that they're at, which was preteens, they were having fun outside and they were willing to put down the screens to do it. It wasn't as easy as doing it with a 5-year-old, but it still worked. So imagine your kids getting excited about going outside every day. Imagine your preteen asking to go outside. Imagine your teenager wanting to go on a hike with you. These are the kinds of things that happen in these nature-based families. So your kids can be excited and engaged about nature. They just need the right activities. They need the right direction. And again, in order for them to have this, you need the right strategies. So it all starts with the parents. And as the parents set up the strategies that work, then the kids have these amazing experiences and an amazing childhood. So my question for you is, do you want rich or poor relationships? Nature provides a space each and every week. If you're getting outside frequently, each and every week you're spending quality time together. So you can develop these rich, lifelong relationships you desire with your kids because there's space and there's time to slow down and to connect and to ask questions and to just have conversations. Whereas if your kids' schedules are completely full, if they're constantly on screens, there's never an opportunity for those conversations. And those relationships don't get developed at the extent that you want them to be. So here's an example of one of our parents. And this is just, an example of them getting outside. She was like, we checked out stink beetles, vinegaroons, Jerusalem crickets, prickly pear cactus, gray oak, chamisa. And she's just basically saying, these are all the things we went out and did. And we did it because of Nature Matters Academy, because of the program that they were in, because she had the tools and therefore the confidence and the support to get outside. So let me ask you a question. How would it feel to ask your kids to get off electronics without having a fight? Would you be calmer? Maybe more peaceful? Would you be able to get rid of some of that mom or dad guilt or feelings of overwhelm? What would your family life be like if your kids actually wanted to go outside? Would you have better relationships? Would there be more joy in your home? And what would it feel like to be able to send your kids outdoors and they actually entertain themselves? Would you be able to get the dishes done? Would you be able to get some work done? Would it give you just enough time to reset and to focus back on what's important and what matters? Absolutely. We all want all of those things. And how would you like it if I could help you implement this, to work directly with me and my team so we can implement what we just talked about? If you're interested in learning how we can help you, then I'd like to take a few minutes to offer you something to help you get there. So what we're offering today is our Get Outside game plan. And our Get Outside game plan is basically 6 steps. And these are the 6 steps that are in our program, Nature Matters Academy. They're the 6 steps we take parents through that if you want to get your kids outside and learning about nature and connected to nature and developing these amazing relationships that revolve around nature, kind of like a family nature legacy, right? These are the 6 steps that you need to do. And we take them through each one of these. And our Get Outside Game Plan, we are going to provide you with basically kind of an audit of, where is it that you're getting stuck and what do you need to do in order to move forward. So with our Get Outside Game Plan, sorry, you can't see that very well, but the first thing that you get is a private one-on-one 30-minute strategy session so you can get the attention and individualized support that you need. Because here's the thing, every family is different. Every kid is different. So what works for one family isn't going to work for another. And so by talking with you and getting to know your family and your challenges that you face and the goals that you want, we can really help you hone in on what it is that you need to do. And so this is a huge value, right? This is a $100 value because it's individualized and customized. And so there are really 2 types of parents that we work with, or at least that we attract, I should say. The parents who like the idea of nature-based childhood and they say they want their kids to want to go outside. They feel good for a few days as they try to get their kids outdoors, but within the week, they're back to their regular screen time habits and, kids are throwing a fit when they're asked to get off. So that's one type of parent that we attract. The other type of parent that we attract are those who recognize that there is a problem, but these parents are different, right? They are action takers. They are investors. They invest their time and their money to have the right tools and support so they can create the type of childhood they want for their kids. One where their kids actually want to go outside. And obviously we only work with parents on the right because the ones on the left aren't going to take action. So we work with parents on the right and we help them get amazing results. So the second thing that you get with your Get Outside Game Plan is a custom Get Outside Game Plan for your family valued at $100. And this is so you can walk away knowing exactly where you're stuck and a clear path forward. So this is essentially what we do. We take our 6-step format for getting kids outside and learning about nature, and we focus on that one area where you're struggling the most. You may be struggling in multiple areas, but we really focus on that one area where you're struggling the most. And then we give you strategy to be able to move forward. And honestly, this template alone of the 6 steps that it takes to really get your kids outside and connected to nature, that is a huge value in and of itself. So not only do you basically have our roadmap that we use with all of our families, but we're going to show you exactly where you're stuck and we're going to give you a strategy to help you move forward. And here's the thing. There are no time machines. You can't get this time back. Every week, every month, every year that goes by is a lost opportunity. And it gets harder as they get older. You have the opportunity through this call to get clarity now, to get clarity on where you're stuck and a clear path to move forward so that your kids have a better childhood that leads to a better future. So with our Get Outside Game Plan, again, you have a private one-on-one 30-minute strategy session. We give you your custom Get Outside Game Plan for your family. And then we also provide you with a 30-day action plan to get outside so that you can map out exactly what you need to do in the next 30 days to meet your goal. Because that's part of the struggle, right? Is not just knowing where you're stuck and a path to move forward, but actually taking that action and moving forward. And this little workbook will help you to do that. So we provide that for you as well. And here's the thing, information alone is not going to help you. It's not going to create the type of childhood you want for your kids. How do I know? Because I had all the information, right? I have a PhD in biology. This is what I did my academic research on, was how do you connect kids to nature? I was a rock climbing guide. I knew how to get people outside. I had all the knowledge, but it wasn't enough. It didn't work. I needed systems and I needed strategies. And that's what you need. You need systems and you need strategies. You need an action plan and you need support. Honestly, you need accountability. I've given you a ton of information in this training session, but information alone is not going to help you. You need to hop on a strategy session with us to develop your very own customized Get Outside Game Plan. So again, private one-on-one call for 30 minutes, and it's our strategy session valued at $100. You get your custom Get Outside Game Plan for your family, which is a huge value at $100. You get your 30-day action plan to get outside, which is valued at $25. And then you get clarity, confidence, and focus for your family. So you can throw the guilt in the trash, put overwhelm aside, because you'll know exactly where you're stuck and how to move forward. So this is one of our parents. It's actually before she joined our program and when we gave her this strategy, but she said, I put Dr. Jenny's advice into practice today. I told the kids their job as scientists was to collect sticks, measure, then graph their findings. Little guy was most excited about collecting and using the wheelbarrow. Then I helped my older girl record and recording and graph making. Dr. Jenny was totally right about setting them up for success by letting them know the expectation. What's the point of going outside before sending them out? So do you see, we saw where she was stuck and we gave her one strategy. And this one strategy moved her from being very frustrated and things just not working out to totally being a game changer. And it was one thing, it made one difference. So is 30 minutes of your time worth clarity and confidence? I think so. All right, so with our Get Outside game plan, you have your private one-on-one 30-minute strategy session, a custom Get Outside game plan for your family, 30-day action plan to get outside, clarity, confidence, and focus for your family, and then no more overwhelm or confusion. So you can focus on what matters most, which is your kids and your family. So here's another one of our parents. She said, I joined the Back to Nature boot camp to help get my kids engaged in nature activities. I subsequently signed up for the online Nature Matters class. It's been a game changer for me. It's provided us with home curriculum, weekly coaching, purposeful, intentional nature activities, and a new community of support. So she had overwhelm, she had stress, she had guilt. She had all of these things that we normally feel as parents when we don't feel like our kids are getting the right experiences. And when she joined our program, all of that went away because she had clarity. She had no more confusion. She knew what to do. And we can help you get clarity on these calls. So say goodbye to mom guilt, to dad guilt. You can say goodbye to overwhelm. You can say goodbye to screen time fights and kids getting bored outside. Right now, those issues are a big deal for you. But after help on a call, it's gone. You can have a clear idea of where you're stuck and how you can move forward. So all of this, the total measurable value for our Get Outside game plan is $225. But listen, guys, I'm not going to charge you that today. It's worth it. Don't get me wrong. It is definitely worth $225. I'm not going to charge you that. Now, let me ask you a question. If all this game plan did was finally help you get your kids outside or get your kids off screens and outside without a fight, would it be worth it? If all this did was help your kids actually want to go outside, would it be worth it? If all this game plan did was help you spend a little more quality time with your kids, would it be worth it? Absolutely, right? But I'm not going to charge you the $225 today. Instead, all I'm going to do is ask for you to pay for a $1 deposit to reserve your spot. And the reason for this deposit is to keep the time wasters at bay. You'd be amazed how such a small commitment keeps talkers talking and not doing anything, but the walkers, the action takers will easily step up, make the commitment because they want something better for their family. So all we're asking you for today is a $1 deposit for the call to get your Get Outside game plan. And here's how that works. So you do the $1 deposit, book your strategy session, and then we have your call for 30 minutes. And during that call, you receive strategic advice and guidance. You get a customized Get Outside game plan specifically for your family to point out where you're stuck and a strategy that you can use to move forward. You get your 30-day action plan so you can take it and you don't get to work, and you have clarity on your next steps. And once the call is done, and then we'll charge you $27 after the call if you find value. So essentially, you get all of this value for only $28, all this clarity. And you get a strategy to move forward with your family for only $28. So you have one of two choices to make. So you choose not to do anything. Everything stays the same and potentially, or maybe potentially gets worse over time. Or you choose to hop on a call with us for only $1 commitment. And now you have a clear understanding of where you're stuck and how to move forward. Do you want to go back to living the same way as you have been? I'm guessing not, otherwise you wouldn't have signed up for this training. No, you sign up for the training because you need help, right? So get help and sign up for this call, because here's the thing, we have a guarantee. If you don't love the strategy session, then we'll cancel the $27 payment after. Now, you won't receive the Get Outside game plan, you won't receive the 30-day action plan, but you will have received 30 minutes of coaching and you will have a strategy to move forward. But at the end of the call, if you're like, man, this strategy is no good, this isn't where I'm stuck at all. If you feel like that's ever happened, which, disclaimer, it has never happened before, but if you feel that way, then you're more than welcome, because we'll ask you at the end of the call, did you find value in this? If you say yes, we'll charge you the $27 and we'll send you all the goodies. If you say no, we won't, and we will wish you the best of luck with your efforts for getting your kids outside. So, all right, this is it. The training is over. It is now or never. Go sign up now to reserve your spot for a call. We only have limited spots. There's just a few of us that do these calls, and we spend a lot of time making sure that you get the results that you need. So be sure to sign up today before the spots are gone. All right, we look forward to talking with you.